April 8, 1943. 27,000 feet above Caen, France. The air is ablade. Lieutenant James Jimmy Thatch, USN, grips the stick of his F4F Wildcat, knuckles white inside lambskin gloves already stiff with frost. You can almost taste the aluminum in the air, sharp, metallic, mixed with the bite of 100 octane. Thatch's breath fogs the inside of his oxygen mask. His wingman, Ensign Daniel Danny Reese, is a shrinking speck 2 miles back, radio crackling. "Bogey's wounded bad, skipper. He's yours." The Zero banks left, desperate, the red Hinamaru on its fuselage flashing once in the pale sun. Its pilot, Petty Officer First Class Takeshi Nakajima, though Thatch will never learn the name, fights the dying engine. A single 20mm round from Thatch's earlier burst has shredded the oil cooler. Black fluid ribbons across the windshield, blinding the Japanese ace. Thatch closes to 300 yards. The Wildcat 650's cough fire. Tracers stitch the Zero's spine. The canopy shatters. Nakajima slumps forward, blood blooming across the instrument panel. The fighter rolls inverted, nose dropping toward the channel. But it doesn't fall. Nakajima's gloved hand jerks the stick. The Zero rights itself, engine coughing but alive. Thatch swears under his breath. Stubborn bastard. He throttles back, matching the wounded plane's descent. At 12,000 feet the Zero levels, skimming wave tops. Nakajima waves one arm out the broken canopy. Surrender. Thatch circles, heart hammering. Capture a Zero intact? Intelligence would sell their souls for that. He keys the mic. "Danny, get on my 6. We're herding this bird home." The channel wind howls through Thatch's open canopy as he shepherds the smoking fighter east. Nakajima nurses the Sakai engine, coaxing every last revolution. Salt spray lashes the windshield. Thatch's fuel gauge needles toward empty. If the Zero ditches now, it's gone. Then the miracle. A Royal Navy corvette, HMS Barrage, materializes through the haze, guns tracking skyward. Thatch waggles his wings. The corvette's signal lamp blinks. "Land on us." A makeshift flight deck, planks lashed over the forward gun turret, looks barely 30 feet long. Nakajima sees it too. His shoulders sag. He lines up, flaps down, gear locked. The Zero kisses the planks at 70 knots. The tail hook, never designed for this, snags a cable. The fighter screeches, propeller chewing wood, then stops 10 feet from the edge. Sailors swarm with fire extinguishers. Nakajima is hauled out, hands bound, face pale but defiant. Thatch lands minutes later on a nearby carrier, legs shaking as he climbs down. He stares across the water at the captured prize. Intelligence officers are already en route. The Akutan Zero, though no one calls it that yet, will change everything. But first, someone has to fly it. June 11th, 1943. 0400 hours. Wright Field, Ohio. A C-54 Skymaster growls down the taxiway, props kicking up dust devils in the pre-dawn gloom. Inside the cavernous hangar, floodlights snap on like interrogation lamps. Crated in pine and stamped with frantic Japanese characters, the second Zero sits on a flatbed truck, wings folded like a dead moth. Captain Kenneth "Ken" Dyson, test pilot for the Army Air Force's Flight Test Division, stands in coveralls, coffee steaming in his hand. He's flown P-51s, P-38s, even the captured FW-190, but nothing prepares him for the crate's lid peeling back. The Zero gleams, silver dope over fabric, not paint. Light as rumor. You can smell the Pacific on it, salt, cordite, faint cherry blossom oil from the cockpit. Dyson runs a gloved finger along the aileron hinge. Paper thin. He whistles low. Jesus. They built this thing out of origami and spite. Technicians swarm. They weigh every bolt. The entire airframe tips the scales at 3,700 pounds, less than a Jeep. The 950 horsepower Nakajima Sakai revs to a mosquito whine. Dyson straps in. The cockpit is a coffin. No armor, no self-sealing tanks, just a glass bubble and a prayer. First takeoff is textbook. The Zero leaps off the runway at 70 knots, tail up in 3 seconds. Dyson climbs to 15,000 feet, laughing into the mic. "It's a damn kite with teeth." He rolls left. Crisp. 60 degrees per second. Rolls right. Same. He pushes to 300 knots indicated. Still butter. Intelligence grins. The myth of the unbeatable zero feels solid in American hands. But Dyson wants more. He wants the edge where angels fear to tread. He schedules the high-speed roll tests for the following week. Altitudes above 25,000 feet. Speeds above 350 knots. The brass signs off, hungry for data. Dyson doesn't sleep. He pores over Japanese pilot manuals translated in frantic pencil scrawl. One line underlined twice. Avoid prolonged inverted flight above 500 kph. He shrugs. We'll see. July 4th, 1943. Independence Day. The sky over right field is a hard cobalt bowl. Dyson climbs to 28,000 feet. Oxygen hissing. The Zero's canopy frosting at the edges. He levels at 360 knots, fast but not reckless. Not yet. Rolling left, he calls to the chase plane, a P-38 piloted by Major Claire Chennault's nephew, Tom. The Zero snaps into a perfect aileron roll. 1 full turn. 2. Clean as a barber's pole. Dyson grins. Your move, Tojo. He hauls the stick right. The world flips, then freezes. The right wing lags. Right wing. The roll rate collapses from 70 degrees per second to a drunken 30. The Zero mushes sideways, nose slicing down. Dyson's stomach lurches. The horizon cartwheels. He shoves opposite aileron, rudder, everything. The fighter hangs, refusing to complete the roll, suspended like a compass needle stuck between poles. Altitude bleeds. 27,000, 26,000. Tom's voice cracks over the radio. Ken, you're in a flat spin, eject. But Dyson doesn't eject. Not yet. He remembers the manual. He remembers the captured pilot's interrogation. Nakajima, now in a POW camp, muttering through a translator. The wings, they breathe. Dyson eases the stick forward, unloads the G, trims nose down. The Zero shudders, then rights itself at 22,000 feet. Canopy rattling like it might tear off. He levels, sweating through his flight suit. Back on the ground, the debrief room is silent. Dyson sketches the roll on a chalkboard. Left wing snaps, right wing stalls. He taps the aileron. It's not the pilot, it's the airframe. Above 350 knots, the right aileron deflects too far, blankets the wing. Instant stall. The engineers stare. One mutters, so the invincible Zero can't roll right at combat speed? Dyson nods. Not without tearing itself apart. The room erupts. Teletypes clatter. The Discovery races to Pearl Harbor, to Guadalcanal, to every squadron briefing in the Pacific. But Dyson isn't done. He wants to prove it, visually, undeniably. He requests a dogfight. Zero versus P-51. Pilot against pilot. No holds barred. The Army says yes. The Navy says hell yes. Only one question remains. Who flies the Zero? July 12, 1943. 1100 hours. Naval Air Station Anacostia, Washington, D.C. The heat shimmers off the tarmac in visible waves, warping the silver skin of the rebuilt Zero like a mirage. A dozen pilots circle it. Navy, Army, even 2 Marines fresh from the canal. They speak in low tones the way men talk around a coffin. Commander James Jimmy Flatley, the same Thatch wingman who once herded the first captured Zero across the channel, steps forward. He's been summoned from the Enterprise, still smelling of salt and bunker oil. Flatley runs a hand along the fuselage, feeling the patched bullet holes like braille. You can almost hear the ghosts in the cockpit. Nakajima's blood long scrubbed away, but the seat still molded to a smaller man. Flatley is 6'2". He'll have to fold himself in like a switchblade. Captain Dyson meets him at the propeller hub. Jimmy, you sure? You've never flown it. Flatley's grin is all teeth. I flew Wildcats against it. Time I learned the devil's handshake. The plan is brutal in its simplicity. Flatley in the Zero, Dyson in a brand new P-51B Mustang. 10 mock dogfights filmed from chase planes, every roll, turn, and dive documented on gun camera film. The winner isn't who shoots first. It's who proves the flaw. Intelligence wants propaganda. Pilots want truth. Flatley straps in. The cockpit smells of new dope and old fear. The sockeye coughs, then sings. He taxis out, canopy open, sweat already pooling at his collar. Dyson lifts off first in the Mustang, sleek as a shark, climbing through 10,000 feet like it's offended by gravity. Flatley follows. The Zero climbs at 3,000 feet per minute. Respectable, but the Mustang is already a speck. At 20,000 feet, Flatley levels, trims, breathes. The P-51 circles back, wagging wings. Your move. Flatley rolls left. Clean. He snaps into a tight turn, 4 Gs pressing him into the seat. The Mustang overshoots, Dyson cursing good-naturedly over the radio. First blood to the Zero. But Flatley remembers Dyson's chalkboard. He remembers the stall. He pushes the throttle wide, diving to 350 knots, then 380. The airframe vibrates, a low harmonic moan. He hauls the stick right. The world stutters. The right wing drops like a trapdoor. The Zero yaws violently, nose slicing toward the earth. Flatley's vision tunnels. He unloads, shoves the nose down, recovers at 15,000 feet with the Mustang glued to his tail. Dyson's voice is calm. Saw it, Jimmy. Right roll collapse, you want to call it? Flatley's laugh is ragged. Hell no. Again. They reset. 5 more engagements. Each time Flatley tries to force the right roll at combat speed, the Zero betrays him. The left roll remains razor sharp, the right becomes a stumble. Dyson doesn't even need to fire. He just waits for the flaw, then pounces. On the final pass, Flatley climbs vertical, sockeye screaming. The Mustang follows, but slower. Flatley flips inverted, tries the forbidden right roll to escape. The wing stalls. The Zero falls leaf-like, spinning. Dyson breaks off, heart in throat. Jimmy, punch out. But Flatley recovers again, nose down, speed bleeding, then a split S that leaves the Mustang high and dry. He levels at 5,000 feet, fuel critical, hands trembling. Ground control calls the fight. Film cans are rushed to the lab. That night, in the officers' club, pilots watch the raw footage in silence. The right wing stall is unmistakable, repeated, predictable, fatal. One Marine lieutenant mutters, "So that's how we beat 'em, we just roll right." Flatley raises a glass. To the flaw. But the flaw has a cost. The Zero's lightness, its genius, is also its curse. Above 350 knots, the ailerons overdeflect, blanketing the wing in turbulent air. The fix? Stiffer hinges, heavier actuators, weight the Japanese can't afford. The footage ships out by dawn. Every carrier in the Pacific gets a reel. Briefing officers splice it into training films. Pilots practice the thatch weave on with a new twist. Force the Zero into a high-speed right roll, then strike. Flatley signs the Zero's logbook, flies like an angel, dies like a drunk. But one pilot isn't satisfied. Lieutenant Tom Pappy Howell, fresh from Midway, watches the film and sees something else. In the stall, the Zero's nose drops predictably. A window, a killing shot. He requests the Zero for one more test, not against a Mustang, against a live enemy pilot. August 3rd, 1943. 0600 hours. Sand Island Stockade, Midway Atoll. The sun is a white coin on the horizon, heat already rising from coral dust. Petty Officer Takeshi Nakajima stands barefoot in the yard, wrists cuffed, flight suit stripped to the waist. 6 months in captivity have hollowed his cheeks, but the eyes burn, black, unreadable. You can smell the diesel from the generators and the faint rot of fish heads from the mess. Nakajima's guards, 2 Marines with Springfields, watch him like a hawk that might still claw. A Navy lieutenant approaches with a deal written on onion skin. Fly the Zero one more time against an American pilot under observation. Win and earn better rations, maybe a letter home. Lose. Well, losing is expected. Nakajima signs with a brush pen, kanji sharp as a blade. Across the lagoon, the Akutan Zero, now patched, repainted in faded U.S. stars, sits on a mat of pierced steel planking. Lieutenant Tom Pappy Howell, 29 kills painted on his F4U Corsair back on Guadalcanal, climbs the wing. He's shorter than Flatley, fits the cockpit like it was tailored. Howell flew Wildcats at Midway, watched friends burn. He wants the Zero to bleed. Rules are simple: 25,000 feet start, no live ammo, gun cameras only. First clean gun solution wins the pass. Best of 3. A P-38 chase plane films everything. Intelligence wants the Japanese pilot's tactics, how he thinks when the leash is off. Whole taxis first, Corsairs Pratt and Whitney snarling. Nakajima follows in the Zero, Sakai whispering like a secret. They climb in formation, Whole on the left, Nakajima right. At 25,000, the Pacific is a hammered sheet of turquoise far below. Chase pilot calls, "Fights on." Whole brakes hard right, Corsair booming into a 6G turn. Nakajima mirrors, left. The Zero slices inside the Corsair's radius, canopy flashing. Whole expected the climb, the turn rate. He didn't expect the aggression. Nakajima is on him like a terrier, forcing a head-on pass. Gun camera whirs. Neither scores. They reset. Whole climbs to 28,000, thinning the air. He knows the flaw now. He dives, building 400 knots, then yanks into a right roll to bait the stall. Nakajima follows, into the trap. The Zero's right wing mushes. Nose drops. Whole reverses. Corsair's 650s tracking the belly. Camera clicks. Clean kill. But Nakajima doesn't spin. He unloads, drops 3,000 feet in a blink, then snap rolls left. Perfect. Vicious. The Zero reappears behind Whole, riding the Corsair's blind spot. Whole breaks downward, swearing. Nakajima stays glued, patient. Second pass. Nakajima wins. Gun camera shows the Corsair's cockpit in crosshairs for 2 full seconds. Third pass. Whole tries everything. Vertical reversements, lag pursuit, scissors. Nakajima reads him like sheet music. The Zero's lightness is a curse in a roll, but a blessing in the vertical. Nakajima yo-yos, climbing where the Corsair stalls, diving where it can't follow. Final merge. Whole forces the right roll again. Nakajima refuses it. Breaks upward instead, throttle firewalled. The Sakai coughs at the edge of compressor stall. The Zero hangs on its prop, nose at 60 degrees, then flips over the top. Whole overshoots. Nakajima dives, lines up the Corsair's tail. Camera clicks. Kill. The chase pilot calls time. Whole lands, shaking his head. Nakajima touches down featherlight, kills the engine, sits motionless until the Marines haul him out. In the debrief hut, film cans spin. Intelligence officers lean close. Nakajima's tactics. Never commit to the right roll at speed. Use vertical maneuvers to avoid it. Force the American into overshoots. Simple, elegant, deadly. Whole slaps the table. The plane's got a limp, but the pilot, he's the spine. Nakajima is led away. Before the door closes, he turns, speaks in halting English. Zero not weak. Pilot makes strong. The room falls silent. That night, the footage is cut into a new reel. How to kill a Zero and how not to. Every squadron in the theater gets a copy. Pilots learn the stall, learn the counter, but they also learn respect. And somewhere in Tokyo, a report lands on Admiral Yamamoto's desk, written in Nakajima's own hand, smuggled out by a bribed guard. American pilots now know the right-wing weakness, train new tactics immediately. The war tilts, inch by inch. But one final flight remains. One American pilot hasn't flown the Zero yet, the man who started it all. September 19, 1943. 05:30 hours. Ford Island, Pearl Harbor. The tide slaps against the seaplane ramps, carrying the smell of coral and aviation fuel. Lieutenant Commander James Thatch steps from a launch onto the pier, flight bag slung over one shoulder, the same one that shepherded the first Zero across the channel 5 months ago. His hair is grayer at the temples, eyes older than the calendar. You can feel the humidity settle on your skin like wet wool. Thatch walks the length of the mat, past rows of F-6F Hellcats, until he reaches the lone silver ghost under a canvas awning. The Akutan Zero, now wearing U.S. stars over the Hinamaru like a scar. The cowling is polished, the fabric taut, but the right aileron hinge carries a fresh chalk mark, Dyson's warning. Thatch requested this flight. Not for data, not for film, for closure. Intelligence gave him 1 hour, dawn patrol quiet, no chase plane. Just him and the machine that killed his friends at Pearl, at Coral Sea, at Midway. the same machine he once escorted like a wounded deer. He climbs the wing. The cockpit smells of new leather and old blood. Thatch is 6'1". The seat is a vice. He wedges in, knees high, elbows tight. The instrument panel is alien. Kanji labels, metric gauges, a compass that reads in degrees no American pilot trusts. He runs the checklist by memory, fingers tracing the throttle quadrant like Braille. Ground crew spins the prop. The sockeye catches on the third blade, settles into a smooth purr. Thatch taxis to the end of the runway, Hellcats parting like curtains. He advances the throttle. The Zero accelerates, tail up in 4 seconds, airborne at 65 knots. Pearl Harbor shrinks beneath him. Ford Island, the Arizona Memorial still leaking oil. Battleship Row, a graveyard of rust. Thatch climbs west, toward the rising sun. At 15,000 feet he levels, trims, breathes. The Pacific is molten glass. He speaks to no one, radio silent. First the left roll. He snaps the stick. The Zero rotates like a corkscrew, 80 degrees per second, clean as truth. He does it again, faster, laughing aloud, an involuntary bark that echoes in the cockpit. The maneuverability is intoxicating, a drug. He pushes to 300 knots, then 350. The airframe sings, a thin wire stretched to breaking. Now the right. He rolls. The wing stalls instantly. The horizon tilts, the nose slices down. Thatch's stomach drops with it. He unloads, shoves the stick forward, recovers at 12,000 feet with the ocean rushing up like a green hammer. His pulse hammers in his ears. He does it again and again. Each time the right roll collapses above 340 knots, predictable as gravity. He tests the envelope. Aileron deflection, rudder input, throttle settings. The flaw is absolute. The Zero is a rapier with a cracked blade. At 20,000 feet, he tries something new. He climbs vertical, sockeye screaming, then flips inverted and attempts the right roll at the top. The stall is immediate, violent. The Zero falls off on one wing, spinning. Thatch lets it spin, 3 turns, 4. Feeling the controls mush, then bite as speed builds. He recovers at 10,000 feet, canopy rattling, sweat stinging his eyes. He levels, circles the Arizona once, low enough to see the oil-slick rainbow on the water. He speaks aloud, voice rough. "You took good men, but you gave us the key." Thatch banks east, sun at his back. He dives to 400 knots, pulls up into a perfect Immelman. Left roll at the top, flawless. He laughs again, this time without humor. The Zero can still dance. It just can't dance right. He lands smooth, propeller ticking down to silence. Ground crew waits, expectant. Thatch climbs out, legs steady, and signs the logbook in bold ink. Flies like a dream. Kills like a mistake. Teach our boys the difference. He walks away without looking back. That afternoon, Thatch briefs every squadron on Oahu. He stands before a chalkboard, drawing the stall in red. Force him right high and fast. He'll bleed altitude or tear himself apart. Then you own him. The Thatch weave evolves into the Thatch roll. Pilots practice it until it's muscle memory. The Zero's mystique cracks, then shatters. By Christmas 1943, American kill ratios in the Pacific flip. Zeros fall in droves over Rabaul, over the Marianas. Japanese pilots, veterans and teenagers alike, learn the hard way that the sky now has a new rule. And in a quiet hangar at Anacostia, the Akutan Zero is crated one last time. Destination, the Smithsonian. Label, do not fly. The shepherd has spoken.